Hi guys. So I saw this comment on my one of my video, and it actually broke my heart because knowing that I'm a victim of this comment. I've lost someone very special to me because of men don't cry, men be a man, don't cry, man should not let out his emotions, you are not a woman, and blah blah blah. So, and actually, I just want to use the opportunity to also answer the question of why do you always speak out for men? Why are you so passionate about men, mental health? Why this, why that? Let me actually answer your question. You see, I lost my dad in 2005. So my grandfather actually was everything. He was a father figure. He was everything when at that moment to us. And I was very close to my grandfather because when I was born, he was the one that named me. Like, he actually named me Itoan. Like, his way of calling me was Itoan Salobwa. He would never call me Itoan or IT like every other person call me. He would call me Itoan Salobwa. So I was very close to my grandfather. So he was a very successful man. He was a chief in Udo. So many people that know that village, Udo village, Arwan, Udo village. He was a chief. His title was Chief Oba Isiwa of Udo. So he was very known. He was a very peaceful man. Everybody loved him in that village. Maybe people from Udo agreed. So when a few years ago, his son Bayo, his first son, he was financially okay. He was, he was everything. He has wife and children, everything. So Bayo fell sick. He was really sick, and let's just cut your story short. After many attempts to save his life, he actually passed away. Bayo died. So when Bayo died, my grandmother ran mad. Like, she was crying, she was rolling on the ground, she was screaming, she was jumping and falling, and people that came to console her was there. All her friends were like, it's okay, I know it's painful, I know you want to cry, just let it out, it's okay, blah blah blah. But my grandfather, his friends that came, their advice to him was, you are a man, don't cry. Look at your children, look at your wife. You are a man. Men are not supposed to cry. It's only women. Don't cry, don't cry. You are a man. No, be acting every year. You are a man. Don't cry, don't cry. Be strong for your wife. Be strong. Don't cry. If you cry now, what do you expect your wife and your children to do? So throughout that mourning period, I never saw my grandfather shed one single tears. He didn't cry because he's a man. Everybody, his friends, his chief friends, and everybody was there telling him not to cry. So my grandfather sucked it in. A few weeks or a month later, it was his funeral. In Benin tradition, a father is never supposed to be on his child's funeral, or a father is not supposed to see the child's dead body the day he's buried. So my grandfather and my grandmother actually left the house and went somewhere else for the funeral. So on the funeral day, I think I was with my grandfather. Like I said, I was very close to him, and I saw him, the same thing. Like, my grandmother, just as the first day he died, ran mad. She was screaming, she would run out, people would hold her. Nobody told her not to cry. Nobody told her it's enough, be a woman, don't cry. But my grandfather, he was pinned down, like, not like physically pinned down, more emotionally pinned down, because they were telling him, be a man, don't lose your guy, don't look at your wife, be strong for your wife, be strong for your children, don't cry, be a man, the same advice. So my grandfather was just there. His head was just bowed down, and he was just there. So after the funeral, everybody moved on with their life. Sometimes I have seen my grandmother break down, sometimes in her room, and start crying, or maybe when she sees anything that reminds her of Bayo, she will cry. But my grandfather, I have never ever seen him cry. I have never seen him cry one day. But after Bayo's death, everybody knew that we lost our father. We lost our grandfather. Why? Because he wasn't no longer himself. He became a shadow of himself. Today he's sick of high blood pressure. Tomorrow they'll rush him to hospital. His temperature is high. Is this and that. He became very lean. Like my grandfather, whoever know about Isiwa Fudo, they know him that he was a very robust man. So my grandfather was a very, he was very, not fat, but you see him, he was very tight. Then he began to lose weight. He began to lose really, really bad weight. All of a sudden he became lean. He was unable to do things that he used to do before. Later, his feet, he could not even walk properly. Like, he was just having different sickness. That when you go to the hospital, like, his temperature is this, is that. To cut the story short, there was in October 1st, he just couldn't stand up anymore. He was just there on his bed. He couldn't stand up anymore. So when we went to wake him up, because it was my grandfather always wake up 5 something. He's already up. This was like 6, 7. He was still in the bed. So we all rushed to the room to see what's going on, just to see that he was just laying there, could not stand up, could not move, nothing. And then when we got to him, we were like trying to call him, and the only name he was mentioning was Bayo. Whether he couldn't remember the name of anybody, he was just calling everybody Bayo and Bayo. So everybody was surprised, like, why is he calling everybody Bayo? Like, Bayo is dead like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Why is him? Bayo was the only name he was calling, Bayo, which was the son that died. So after that, we have to take him to the hospital. We took him to the hospital. He was there, you know, he couldn't speak. Actually, the only thing you just hear him murmur was Bayo. And then he was there, everybody was running up and down, and then later he was in coma. He couldn't wake up, he was just there. So after, like, I think he was in coma for 2-3 days, and then he woke up again. But when he woke up, he actually saw my mom and my uncle, but he just kept calling them Bayo. And the only name he actually remember apart from Bayo was my name, which, because when he called Bayo, he actually opened his eyes and called Itohan and said Ton Salobwa Nyero, which is, where is Itohan? Which she was looking for me, but unfortunately I wasn't there because I went home to cook, because everybody was at the hospital. So I went home to cook and change and bring food for people that was at the hospital. So when my mom called me, like, your grandfather is looking for you, like, I was running mad. I was happy that he woke up, you know. I left everything, I rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, he went back to, not coma, like, he just went back to the state of not remembering anything, not speaking, and then he was just there. And I think 12 days later, it was 12 days later, the doctor came to us in the morning and told us that, look, we have to stand by him this time, and he doesn't really think he's going to make it throughout that day again. So everybody was in the room, you know. I remember just holding his hand, sitting close to his head, you know, putting his head in my lap, and I just hold his hand. And then he just opened his eyes a little. He couldn't speak, but you can see he was trying to, like, open his mouth. He couldn't speak. And after trying, he actually mentioned the name again, Bayo. And that was the first time in my life I saw my grandfather cried. When he mentioned the name Bayo, tears just started, like, running. He was just shedding tears. Tears just running down his eyes as he mentioned the name Bayo. He could not call it. Maybe he was trying to say something. Maybe he was trying to talk to, but he just couldn't mention any word apart from that name Bayo. But then I was thinking, why? Bayo has been dead for years. Maybe, so it was just after mentioning the name Bayo, he just cried, you know. I was trying to hold his hand. He just cried, and then that was it. And because for me, I actually didn't know he was dead. You know, my mom just be like, leave the room, you know. And I was like, why? He said he's dead. So I was like, that was weird, he's dead, you know. He doesn't look dead. Then we called the doctor came and checked and told us that, yes, he's dead. And it was really sad, you know, to see that he actually have to carry that burden for years. Maybe I wish they allow him to mourn. Maybe I wish they allow him to pour out his emotion. Maybe I wish they allow him to cry and scream, and just like the way my grandmother did, they allow him to cry and jump and fall. And I wish they allow him to just do whatsoever he wanted to do on that day of or the day he lost his son, or the day of his funeral. Maybe he would have let out some emotions. Maybe he would have lived longer, because after the death of his son, a few months later, he started having this high blood pressure, high this and high that, you know. They didn't allow him more because he's a man. Man is not supposed to cry. Man is not supposed to be weak. Man is not supposed to let out his emotion. Man is not supposed to show that he's sad. Man is supposed to provide. Man is supposed to fight. Man is like, tell me the stupid person who said that. Show me where it is written in any fucking law that a man is not supposed to cry. A man is not supposed to why is the society telling black men, that men are not supposed to cry? Who say that? Like, people are dying. Have you seen the suicide rate between men and women? Like, men are dying. They are committing suicide because if you can't let out your emotions, you can't speak out, you can't do anything, then one day you explode, and that is when they do stupid things. You see men having bad anger, like when you just mistakenly touch someone when you are walking, they just explode in anger because they have so much anger, pain, and sorrow in them. Like when you see a Nigerian man, African man lose his son, lose his wife, lose his brother, they tell him, be a man, be a man. Like, who on earth said the men are not supposed to cry? It's not fair. It's not right. Men are supposed to do whatsoever they want when their emotions. If they want to cry, let them cry. If they want to scream, let them scream. Like the white men, I've seen a lot of, even sometimes I see my boss, when he's stressed out, he starts to cry. He's crying like a baby. And sometimes with the worker, we offer him handkerchief to clean his eyes. Nobody will tell him, he's so weak, he's crying. Like, how dare you cry as a man? It's not fair. Many look at some men that they are turning into drug addicts. They drink, they take drugs, they do different bad things just to try to forget the pain and sorrow they are feeling that moment, because they don't want to show they are weak.